important. And so if you look at all of the moves that are happening, what Turkey has been doing domestically with its Kurdish population and the conversations there, the discussions with the US in the Gulf, and the US reaching out to Iran, coupled with energetic Kurdish diplomacy. The statements in the Tehran forum just a while ago, where Kurdish officials are reassuring Iranian officials. So I think what to take away from this is that Kurdistan is still recognized as an important friend of the United States, a friend of this new administration, and that Kurdish officials are being included in American thinking at a very important time. Once again, I think this indicates how important the United States values its relationship with Kurdistan, because there are plans at the US State Department to close certain consulates around the world where maybe our interests are not as central as they once were. There are cost-cutting measures to try to improve the efficiency of the State Department. And at this very time, we're opening a very, a large expansion to our presence in Kurdistan. So if you look at these signals coming out of Washington and the new administration, Kurdistan is included at the very moment when President Trump returns from Middle East diplomacy. There'll be so many conversations of importance on security and economic relationships taking place. And then also at the same time, our presence, American presence, is increasing the connections between United States officials and those of the Kurdish regional government. So these should all be seen as very good signs for Kurdistan. I think the message is very clear that the United States, under this new administration, will continue the important partnership that we've had with Kurdistan for now 25 years or longer. That while there's a lot of change happening in Washington, D.C. politically, what does not change is the American commitment to Kurdistan. And it's an opportunity for Kurdish and American officials to compare notes about all the changes happening in the world, to look for new opportunities to work together. And, President Trump's agenda is one where he's really pushing economic development around the world. I'm sure that those conversations will be taking place with Kurdish officials as well, where there can be a real hard look at how U.S. companies can work in Kurdistan and advance their interests, as well as advancing the interests of the Kurdish people. So as for now, as of this moment, if I were in Kurdistan, I'd view all of these as positive developments. And remember that Kurds have very strong relationships with democratic officials as well. And that's, hard to do in today's Washington, D.C., but somehow Kurdish officials have worked hard to maintain relationships with both parties, and that's very important. This is a very good question. I think if you're looking at what this new administration has been making a priority, they've been talking about settling issues with Ukraine and Russia, talking about Gaza, trying to end the conflict there. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, that's not talked about, but very active U.S. diplomacy is settling some issues there. And then, of course, in Syria. So while I know it's impossible to ask for patience, I would suggest American diplomacy has its limits. They're doing about all they can to check in with all the big conflicts in the world. The one with Baghdad and Kurdistan is one that's going to have to be looked at. And maybe, just maybe, the new relationships with some of the players in the Gulf that the U.S. is developing can be leveraged to the benefit of all parties inside of Iraq. Let's hope so, because people I know in Kurdistan are suffering from economic harm right now. I think there's opportunity. I think that relationships are changing across the region, and it's a real credit to Kurdish strategists and their diplomacy, your diplomacy, to have conversations at the highest levels happening with the U.S. and Iran at the same time. So obviously the U.S. and Iran, two very big players in any relationship with Iraq. And perhaps, who knows, there's likely to be a common talking point by Kurdish officials to the Iranians and the Americans. Let's see if the Iranians and Americans can actually agree on some of those issues that touch on Kurdistan. So this is very active Kurdish diplomacy at exactly the right time when there are openings and opportunities present. I'm not in the room, so I don't know what's being talked about, but my guess is important issues are being discussed, and within months, certainly a year or so, we will see if there's any real movement on these issues.